right, it is the Boneyard Podcast. Matt Mosley, Corey Campbell, and congratulations. The neighborhood is still buzzing. I mean, I look forward to all of these, but after a win like that, I got to say, I was ready to, even that night, Friday night, I mean, we couldn't really record it before the game ended, but I had to be out of town for a college game Saturday, but I was monitoring it very closely. Congratulations. I mean, it's a huge win for the program, the community, and it's pretty cool. Sometimes as a first-time head coach, you're looking for, okay, when's that going to be first signature win where I would say this is one, and one of the bigger wins Lake Highlands has had in regular season wins in a long, long time, and a district win to boot. So congratulations. And I understand that the text messages have been, it wasn't just me. They were kind of pouring in. Now, I don't know if it's Saturday night or it was maybe Friday night, or if it was Saturday when they really started to pour in after you actually finished off the win. How many total would you say you've received?
I don't know. It's been great. Before we go into that, I think this thing's about a coaching staff, assistant coaches that led a program and directed kids, and then a game plan that they had put together, and then ultimately this game's about players and players who executed that game. So all credit to those guys. As far as the text messages go, I think I got 174 text messages in that 8 minutes and 29 seconds. But super humbled, grateful, and just so proud of our team. Crazy respect for Coach Allen and Highland Park, and then just the amount of work and time that our staff put in, and the belief that our kids had. The credit goes to those guys.
What was we talked last Tuesday because of the holiday weekend, and we had a good visit, but I mean, still, I know y'all were bummed at how the Flower Mound game went. You didn't really maybe feel like that was totally who y'all were, and you're still trying to get your legs under you. You're right. The game plan that you and the staff put together, offense, defense, special teams, was pretty remarkable, especially, this whole thing about like hitting the favored team or whatever, hitting them in the mouth early. Y'all did it in a huge way. But before we even get to that play, was there a moment Tuesday, Wednesday, when you kind of started to sense the team, a growing confidence? And what did y'all as a staff say to them after Flower Mound to kind of turn that page and let them start to believe, that something like this could happen?
Yeah, I think, ultimately after the Monday practice, the game plan was starting to get installed for Highland Park. We had a team meeting in the middle of the week, and, we just talked to our kids about kind of a foxhole mentality. We've coached these kids for several years, and my coaches have built relationships, personal relationships with players, and they've helped them out in so many ways, and the players have total respect. And we just got in the meeting room, and we just said that we're all going to get in a foxhole together, and we're going to come out and we're going to fight. We were heavy underdogs, and we were going to put the game plan in, and I think the kids just started to kind of believe in that mantra. And Friday morning, we kind of revisited it, and I think that kind of lit a fire, and I think the kids just kind of started to, believe, and before it got to Friday evening, we were going out there, putting our best foot forward.
Yeah, and crowd, it was kind of neat to see that you could almost like write a book or something, or a long story, on just every facet of that game. And then the way it ended up, the delays, everything that was a part of it. I thought that was really cool. While it's on my mind, that the student body, I mean, again, I understand. I'm not going to say whatever. Highland Park had a few people come back, and of course, maybe some of them went home. I don't know. But that was just kind of neat to see after a long delay, and it's like 11 o'clock, and here come all the students back. Of course, the cheerleaders were back down there on the field, and it was it just kind of was that kind of like, we're going to stay as long as it takes. And you ended up, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been involved in a deal where you had to come back on a second day and complete the game, but that's I mean, it's a pretty rare thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I guess in 2002, maybe, we were playing Rockwall, and we had to come back on a Saturday and finish the game because of heavy downpours, and the field wasn't playable, and there was lightning. But I told our kids at halftime walking up the ramp, I get the note that says there's a possible storm moving in the direction of Lake Highlands. And then so I talked to the staff a little bit. We're making halftime adjustments, offense, defense, special teams meetings, and the kids are ready to go. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, how am I gonna break this to them? And then how am I going to, more importantly, get them ready after a delay? And I think, just like we always do, I was really honest with them. I said, it's another opportunity, another example of adversity, slap us in the face. There's nothing we can do about this. We've got to handle it. And so we kind of got off our feet. We let the kids relax a little bit. And then, I called them back up, and we were ready to go, went back out and warmed up. And, the community, I mean, again, I talk about this all the time, but it's such a special place, whether you're talking about, Friday night, it was packed, or Saturday afternoon, people filing back in. It was truly special. And then I'm not going to lie, it was hard to tell the kids that they were going to postpone the game because they wanted to go finish it. You could tell in their eyes. And another example for adversity. I mean, there were so many facets to Friday night. I had kids taking the ACT on Saturday morning. I had kids that worked on Saturday that we were calling bosses and trying to make sure that they could get off. I had coaches doing laundry at 2 a.m. Trying to get the uniforms ready again, because we were going to wear the same uniforms that we wore. We had to come up with an agenda of what time we were going to get up here, what time food was going to be, all the different things that go into something like that. But again, it's just adversity. It kind of hit us in the face, and we just had to be ready to adapt.
I mean, that could have been Coach Pascuzzi trying to get another unsung hero award. I could see maybe him trying to do that, but it was remarkable to go through all of that. And I think we got to start with, and by the way, the conversations that were, I think people would be kind of fascinated to hear what went into, y'all were at times after the first lightning delay, having to even negotiate between you and Coach Allen. And by the way, I did see Coach Allen kind of point up to the heavens asking for some weather to move in. So I did see that at some point. But y'all had to negotiate whenever, agree to the warm-up time. And I know y'all had a little bit different feeling on that. You had to split the difference. And then walk us through later in the evening when the conversation was about, okay, when are we going to finish this? Because I know at least one of the game, maybe involving a team from RISD, did it at 10 a.m. and that seemed to be maybe a direction you were leaning at one point.
Sure. So after the first delay, Coach Allen and I visited. I wanted to warm up a little bit longer. He wanted a little bit shorter, so we kind of met in the middle there. And then after we come back out, and then we're on the second delay, that's when the meetings had to start. And the UIL has a rule that you can't start after 12 a.m. You can't restart. And so we had to start working on Saturday. And originally, 10 a.m. was what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, our officiating crew, they couldn't be there until 2 p.m. And so it was either we're going to have to negotiate of getting a whole new crew in, or we're going to have to agree on a 2 p.m. start. And so, in the end, that's what we did. We brought the kids back at 10 a.m. We had team meetings. Interestingly enough, there's no video. All the video's locked up on a night like that. And so there was nothing for us to watch or anything like that. And so we just kind of refocused I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you we worked on the hands team a little bit more than normal. We got them down there in the MAC and went over our hands team, maybe even kicked a few, and worked on that a little bit. And got ready to go back out, walk down the stadium, and get after it for 8 minutes and 29 seconds.
It's a wild deal, and you knew they wouldn't go away, and they were going to try to present a challenge there, and they were going to get the ball to start with. But let's go all the way back to what felt like 19 or 20 hours before the play to Myron. I mean, tell us if you can, like, what the play's called, or you may just not want to say that, but it basically looked like a fly pattern or a go. I mean, that had to be something that y'all had either been sitting on, preparing. I mean, you thought about using Myron. I mean, he's too fast and too great athlete that it hasn't crossed your mind. Maybe we could use him on offense. But when did y'all kind of put that into package? Because you knew you were going to hit him right from the start, and that really set the tone for the evening, that 75-yard touchdown.
Yeah, credit to Tripp and Myron and the offensive line and the protection. For us, that's a read scheme, and when I talk about a read scheme, there's multiple routes that a receiver can run on a read scheme. He's gonna, when the ball's snapped, he's gonna run the route to the coverage. And so at the end of the day, we got press coverage, we got a squat corner, and the read was to run a vertical. And we obviously we had practiced. It's something that we work on. And then at the end of the day, Myron made a great catch, went up the sidelines, and got us off to a terrific start.
Fans going crazy. They respond. You go right back down the field. I think it was first 3 possessions, 3 touchdowns.
Sure.
And I know how y'all script out some of what you want to do early in a game. Then of course the game actually happens and you have to adjust and everything. But from a game plan standpoint, coming off that Flower Mound game where you moved the ball but you kind of sputtered and everything, what were kind of you talked about talking to the team about the foxhole mentality, but what were some of the adjustments that allowed y'all to be so efficient? And again, it takes Tripp and the offense, obviously. I mean, Deontay, we'll talk about him, had maybe the greatest day in Lake Highlands history, which this is one of the great running teams in the history of the state. So that's kind of crazy to even imagine. But what were some of the tweaks or things that went into the game plan because Highland Park is a tremendous program that has known for playing really good defense, and quite honestly, they just could not find their footing defensively against you guys.
Yeah, again, credit to our offensive staff. I think first and foremost, when we go into a game, we think we know how you're going to line up. We're not always right. There's adjustments by the defense. Give those guys credit. And so early on, we tried to get in multiple sets to just clarify that we knew how they were going to line up. And once we got a feel for this is how they're going to line up, we just kind of stuck to the game plan. This is what we like. This is what we're going to do. As coaches talking, making adjustments on the sidelines and things like that. And really, we just started to rattle off our game plan. And then, obviously, when you have a back like Deontay Dean, and our offensive line played unbelievable. It makes the flow of the game so much easier. We were able to take shots. We took a shot in the end zone to Leland, Germany. We got a pass interference call. Mm-hmm. On a third and 8, we throw a sting route to Tripp Marshall that's complete, and we just had great flow. And I know last week we talked about not playing that brand of complementary football, and it just felt like we kind of got in that groove, where we were just executing the game plan. The coaches made some great adjustments, and we knew that, coming back on Saturday, that Highland Park was going to make some adjustments. So, our meetings early Saturday morning with the offensive staff is just having those big eyes, staying focused on what we need to stay focused, and we whatever their adjustments are, we need to be able to counter those adjustments.
You tweaked, it seemed like y'all had a little bit of a personnel change on the O-line at one spot, and you're right, it just road grader city, the pass protection, the communication. I know, y'all had some penalties. Those were kind of down. What a great feeling on those long plays and we all do it. You look back down the field and go, hey, make sure nobody's thrown a flag, and either, it seemed like everything was clean.
Sure.
And it was just more efficient, everything. Deontay, 376 yards. I mean, it's just kind of amazing. And he's up for, I think, Mr. Texas Football, through Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Vote for him there. The Sports Day, Dallas Morning News has its Hero of the Week. Vote for him there. I've been trying to get my votes in and all that. I know as a coach, you're not trying to, talk about all these individual awards. It's kind of neat when you have somebody that's been such a big part of the program in a huge game that you need to start district the right way, has one of the greatest games in Lake Highlands history, what he put up. I mean, and the speed, he just, from a shifty, he's got an incredible feel. And you've always known that, as sort of setting up blocks, and he's shifty, he's smooth, all those different things. But what does that say about him, and what did you see from him? I mean, because as much as you knew maybe he could have a good game,
sure,
I don't know if you knew he was going to be knocking on 400 yards door.
Yeah, I think first off is, Deontay played for us as a freshman on the varsity the last part of the season, and just watching him grow, the maturation. When college coaches are calling all the time, and they're asking, he's a special talent. He's got great vision, but the one thing that's so unique is he has such great balance after contact. And so many backs have great vision and balance, but Deontay has a unique balance after contact. When he's getting tackled or getting hit, he continues to have that great balance. And not only that, you'll see sometime this season, we'll see when it comes up. He's probably one of the top receivers. He's got great hands, and so proud for him. You could see it in our team's eyes, but so proud for him Friday night or Saturday, or however we're alluding to this, at the end of the day, just how important it was. And I could say that about so many kids, and we'll talk about some, but this morning in team meetings, I'm talking to Leland, Germany, and there probably wasn't a more excited kid in the stadium, and he caught 0 balls. And I think, our team kind of starts to understand that, and they kind of buy into that philosophy. Maybe it'll be somebody else next time. Mm-hmm. As a coach, man, that's truly, truly special, just to get to be a part of something like that.
I'd kind of like to be there when you explained to Leland's dad that you're going to use him as a decoy the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
But
it wasn't that we didn't try to throw him any balls. He got a couple penalties, so we got a couple interference calls. But
he did, yeah.
We think a lot of him, and he's going to catch a lot of balls in Lake Highlands.
Yeah. And, part of his presence, if you turn on film, and if they had looked at that scrimmage too, it was a matchup kind of nightmare.
Sure.
And then that maybe opens up things other places. The trip connection was pretty awesome in that game. Trip Marshall has over 100 yards receiving, and then to see him kind of turn the burners on. Sure. But I think people would be interested to hear kind of like the one, maybe it was the first touchdown he had, where it was almost like a drag. Somehow y'all just got him open, like way open across the middle. What allowed Tripp to get in some of those matchups and to find himself so wide open?
Yeah, that was just a curl flat scheme out of a 3x1 set, and we had talked all week about him being hot, which to us means that he's uncovered off the line of scrimmage within a certain amount of yards. And give Trip Hawley a ton of credit, because we worked on it during the week, and we got in that look just like we showed him in practice, and Marshall was hot, and he hit him down the middle. And so it's fun for coaches to work on stuff during the week, and hey, this is going to happen, and sometimes it really does happen, and that was awesome for those two kids to hook up together.
Yeah, it seemed like they have good chemistry and
Sure.
obviously good friendship and
Great kids.
Yeah, and I think one of them wants to maybe go to a service academy. One of them's the son of a guy that was a Navy SEAL, so there is some kind of maybe military connection or something there. But that's been it's fun to watch. A little bit more perhaps like on the O-line. I know sometimes maybe you just want to address them as a unit, but it was such a you don't get as great a running back as Deontay is. You don't get 376 yards without some help up front. What did you see from them, even from week 2 to week 3, and who kind of, as you watched the film, really kind of jumped off the page at you?
Yeah, credit to Coach Hatt and Coach Tackett. I think, one thing, we went back and studied ourselves a little bit. We watched the video as the entire offensive staff, and I think we just came to the conclusion that, we have a good handle on what they do best, and we've got some big kids up there that are strong, and we really tried the physicality part against Highland Park. We had a lot of RPOs. And we kept the run game pretty simple, and we really tried to mash that front, and they're a good front, and give those guys a lot of credit. They played extremely hard, but our guys executed the game plan, and I think that I talk to our football team, especially offense, a lot. When 5 guys have to work together and be cohesive, and know their assignments, the defense just doesn't sit there. Sometimes they bring blitzes, sometimes they do inline stunts. I mean, there's so many different things that can happen, and you just have to have a group working together, and they did a phenomenal job up front. And I really believe if we can continue to get better up front, that offensive line is going to take our football team places.
All right, and sometimes we'll move on to the next week, but this was kind of a historical victory. Some neat symmetry, by the way. I think you had one of your starting linebackers, a captain, Shep Jenkins. His father, I think, scored a touchdown the last time Lake Highlands beat Highland Park in 1989. I didn't know Ben was that old, but I'm now been able to confirm that. But that's pretty. It's just cool. All the stuff between the communities, and they've been in the district at times. I think they're leaving the district next year, and so this is a good way to send them out.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you got kids on your team like Shep Jenkins. He could probably tell you I went to him multiple times during the week, talking about leadership and our defense, and we had those same conversations, right before kick, and then during a delay, and then on Saturday morning, and what an honor it is to be able to watch a kid like that grow up and just see how much he's improved, and what a great kid. And at the end of the day, I mean, there's a reason why we were able to be successful, and it's kids like that have given all to our program, and it's fun to watch. It's fun for the kids to watch them to be successful.
And that's some of their Wrangler training obviously helps out as well.
Yeah,
I'm sure you loved that
something
before.
like that.
That's right. And Coach, by the way, very good on the mic at the pep rally. I thought the pep rally kind of set the tone for the day, and you were right. It was going to be a great, environment, I think is what you were saying, and your message. Hey, this is going to be the coolest environment in the state, which you didn't know was going to be like all the craziness that would happen. And I needed to be somewhere like that, by midnight in another community, but I was going to wait that out no matter what. Unfortunately, that game did not go as well as yours, the one I had to go cover. I do want to look at the defense a little bit too, because Peck, the Highland Park quarterback, obviously has some talent and can run and impacted the game running and all that kind of thing. But they were so precise, even against you guys last year. They had those big receivers, and they were just throwing it in the end zone, and it just seemed like, oh my gosh, what have we encountered here? It's like an NFL team or something. And in this game, and I know they scored pretty quickly, but then at some point in that first half, it was kind of like I've seen college teams like this, that you just need one stop. or one takeaway.
Sure.
And it can like change the whole tempo of the game. You all got that, but then your ability to get to the quarterback and put hits and impact throws. I mean, what went into? Were there some different like blitz packages? I mean, I would see maybe safeties coming off the edge, but really it was coming from all over the place. But they really struggled at times against your defense.
Yeah, sure. I think for us, more than a scheme or a package of, blitz or whatever, I think, we talked the previous week and the week before that, and just really trying to figure out who we are. And I think the defensive staff, Paz and the defensive staff did a great job last week. They're starting to figure out who we are. And we made a few adjustments personnel wise. I think a couple weeks ago we talked about Caden Bird carrying the ball on offense. He's kind of finding his home on the defensive line. Michael Odolami, Christian Tate, and we kind of find that balance and that mix. And we have a few other guys that went in as well, but all those guys are really athletic and really quick, and I think that's where we did have some zero blitzes, and they did do a few things to counter that, but I think that's where it started. Their quarterback is phenomenal. He did have some big runs, but we were able to bottle him up a few times, and I think as a quarterback, when there's pressure, they'll all tell you, I played quarterback, that it doesn't affect you. But at the end of the day, when somebody's breathing down your neck all the time, I think it affects the game. And I think that was a great example of that.
I'd like to get some tape of you at some point, kind of examine. I know the players would probably enjoy seeing that.
Some of that tick, 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 maybe, or something. But anyway.
Myron makes the huge play on offense, and then he's become extremely solid back there at cornerback, and I don't know, I was trying to remember, y'all kind of, I guess you leave him over there. I mean, he's obviously capable of walking around and being on whoever the team's top receiver, but that's got to be kind of a great feeling for a coaching staff and for Anthony and the whole gang when you have somebody like that teams are kind of scared to throw to their side. I mean, it's kind of rare at the high school level, and he's kind of that guy.
Yeah, I think having him over there obviously is helps guys comfortability issues, but I think more than that is when you leave him over there by himself, now you have somebody else that frees up that you can do something with. And in the scheme and on our defense, I feel like that's such a good attribute to have. And credit to Myron. Obviously he can run. Everybody knows that. But man, he's really learning his craft over there at that corner position, and super proud of him.
And then linebacker play. I don't know if there were some folks that thought maybe Ryan Sherrado, that you had maybe had him spying a little bit on the quarterback. He obviously hit the quarter. I mean, everybody was kind of getting their licks in. Sometimes I think Bob, the PA guy, just kind of likes saying Sherrato. There's a real way he delivers it that I like. But there's a junior who's continuing to get better and better. I think I saw him limping maybe at halftime or at some point in that game, but it seemed like he didn't miss any time because of it and played right through it.
Yeah, I mean, he's. I talked to him today, and he's one of those kids that we've talked about over the last few weeks. Of, that was his third varsity football game, and he's getting better and better and better. And yeah, he did spy the quarterback, and he got in there a few times. Man, he played great. If you go back and study the tape, he was phenomenal, along with Shep in our front. But one of the things that you worry about as a coach, and you're talking about the few bumps and bruises, there's a handful of our kids that have a hard time getting out of bed on Saturday mornings, and so when you play 75-80% of a football game, and you got to come back. I was concerned about, how our kids would be able to bounce back, and, the soreness and just the fatigue. I mean, there's a reason they don't play football games every other day. I mean, you play once a week. I mean, just the physicality of it. Your body needs that rest time, and so bringing them back. If we had only played 6 minutes, it'd have been one thing. But playing, almost 3.5 quarters. I was concerned about that, and he was nicked up. Shep was nicked up, and so we're trying to get those guys in the training room on Saturday morning and getting massage guns out and all that type of stuff. But super proud of Ryan, and the sky's the limit because he can run. He's instinctive, and he's not afraid to hit you.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, y'all, there's some, and there was. By the way, the Baylor game where I was the other day against Utah. And it happened to be like coincided right with y'all starting your game, or maybe I like that. A former Lake Highlands kid, Caleb Parker, comes ripping down the field on punt coverage, and lays one of the biggest hits of the game. Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of like the fact that was happening as y'all are getting ready to try to finish off.
That's
Highland Park.
That's fitting. I mean. Man, that puts a smile on my face. Caleb Parker, Lake Highlands Wildcat, hard worker, great in the classroom. Went to Baylor, walked on, and holy cow, he has put in the work. And, I talked to some of the Baylor staff this summer, nothing but great things to say about him. And now he's playing Division I football. Yeah. Man, he was a great player here, and, a long line of good football players coming out of here, but I'm happy for him. Good for him. Yeah. Baylor needs to figure out how to get it turned around, though, don't they? A little bit.
Yeah, I don't think we have time to get into that. We can't cover that today, but yeah, it's that was pretty neat to see him do that, and it's one of the reasons, like David Wetzel and some of those guys on staff down there, if they hear anything about like a Lake Highlands kid, they're like, ooh, sure. Let's call them because people like Caleb that give. Help, put the word out there, and it's like gives you more credibility when you send a kid like that to those programs. The Boneyard podcast continues on. I mean, we could do another hour on Highland Park. A huge win. The only thing is, Jesuit is another. I mean, you knew you were front loaded district wise. They're waiting. They had a narrow win. I guess they've had a couple of extra days because y'all had 2 days. They played for Thursday and won with like a game-winning field goal. They've had some like extremely close games. But what as you kind of prepare and look at this Jesuit team, what really stands out to you?
Well, they're just extremely well coached is the first thing on the tape. I mean, they don't do a whole lot different than they've done in years past. But Coach Hickman he does a phenomenal job. Their staff. And they're a good football team. We're going to have our hands full on Friday night, this is the card we drew. Our district is front loaded. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, turning on the tape, it was just very 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 good football team. We've been watching video all week, trying to get ready for these guys, and it's going to be a test on Friday, and we'll be excited. We'll be ready to get this thing kicked off.
All right, and the Unsung Hero Award, everybody always enjoys that. Who do you? I mean, I imagine there were a lot of people in the running for it. Who do we have this week?
Yeah, okay, so I dodged the question of names a while ago, but our unsung hero for Highland Park, I don't know how I could choose anyone else, is James Ward, Julius Williams, King David Abuchi, Isaac Swoley, Timothy Billups, Hayes, Trip Marshall. Anytime you have a back run, anytime you have a back run for the amount of yards Deontay did, I mean, he's getting a lot of praise, and rightfully so, deserving. But that doesn't happen without great offensive line play, great coaching up front. And our Unsung Hero Award this week goes to our offensive line and our tight end.
Nice. Yeah, I was leading you down the path to name some of those old linemen, and you were holding back on me to present them. The big unsung hero.
I didn't want to pull the curtain up too quick.
I like that, and even you had a little pause there before you delivered the. I kind of like that the drama.
That's a lot of kids. I don't want to make sure getting all those names in there. You got to. King David Abuchi and Hayes Mall, and you got to remember all those kids. But credit to those guys. I think the sky's the limit for them. And we've talked this week early about it was a great win, and we're super proud of our kids. But at the end of the day, we got to turn the page. And this thing, started this morning in scouting reports and install. It started to be about Jesuit. And we're not going to change too much as far as our approach. I mean, we're going to try to win on Monday. We're going to try to win in the classroom. We're going to try to win in the weight room. We're trying to win in video, and then win on the practice field. And tomorrow morning in the weight room, and so on. And we're just going to try to stack good days on top of good days, and not try to worry about down the road. And I think that's who we are right now. I think our kids are starting to really buy into that approach. And so tomorrow morning, we're gonna start getting better.
All right, and you'll have the black hoodie on as always, roaming the sideline. All sorts of Lake Highlands Jesuit connections, and of course our historian Glenn Gant delivers again, and this involves you, a young assistant coach named Corey Campbell. You remember that? You were on Scott Smith's staff, 2010. And I remember a Jesuit, getting into the UIL. It was a big story. There was controversy, but then they get put in your district. And one of those years, the Rangers had been forced to play the first 7 games on the road, and the Lake Highlands game would be the first game in their new facility. And you remember that from 2010. Crowd of $7,500, also homecoming that night. And in that game, you had, Desmond Rowland. He had rumbled for 276 yards and 4 touchdowns in a win over Berkner. But I think on that night, sophomore quarterback and future Dartmouth baseballer Michael Ketchmark, and then Lake Highlands would turn to wide receiver Devontae Soingham, and then he lined up at running back. Junior finished with 32 rushes for 191 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then say it again.
Devontae
Soingham would log on another 11 catches for 122 yards while being responsible for 4 touchdowns. It would be, pretty big night. And then also we should mention that senior defensive tackle Trey Stewart, now on your coaching staff, and the Wildcat defense would harass the Jesuit offense into fumbles, interceptions, and 2 missed field goals in Lake Highlands varsity game number 541. I'm glad Glenn has delivered that to us, and a 29-20 victory. And it was y'all had finished 7-4 overall, but does that bring back a few memories thinking about that staff and some of those players?
Yeah, it does. I remember that game vividly. Desmond was hurt, and so we moved Soingham around that night. They hadn't seen that a whole lot, so he played some running back, he played some receiver, and then my guy Trey Stewart, man, I'm so fortunate he's on our staff. Such a great coach, great man. Really, really good friend of mine, and I got to coach him in 2010, and he was a special kid, and how fortunate I am just to continue to be a part of him being at Lake Highlands.
Turns his cap around backwards.
Yeah, he's a ball coach. He gets after it. I love it.
Are you having to kind of keep some of those guys back a little bit?
I don't know if I'm doing a very good job of that. I hope I'm not being evaluated on that.
I recall Lonnie had some issues, so you're not the first head coach to have some folks. And then, it could, the other night, fortunately, y'all overcame the sideline penalty. There was too much fun stuff the other night to dwell on that, but it's certainly something I know you'll have your eye on, right?
Sure.
Yes, and you may have brought up in a staff meeting. And then also just some of these folks, like Paul Maturi, who used to coach here, played here. He's on their staff, and I guess I think he's a defensive line coach over there. Defense coordinator Don Woods was on Jerry Gaden's staff. And then my good buddy and my wife's great friend they went to high school together, Dr. Ryan Smith, former Wildcat quarterback. His son, let's keep an eye out for him, junior linebacker Cooper Smith over there at Jesuit. But just know that all those guys at Connections to Jesuit and everybody, Ryan was in the stands the other night pulling for the Wildcats really hard against, and Stiggers and Janoff, the whole gang, they were around. So it was just fun to see all the Lake Highlands royalty and lots of connections there. And I should mention a guy that's very connected to the Gant family, Brandon Suchala, defensive lineman. Let's keep an eye out for him. All right. So he also, I like the tip. Parking is extremely limited over there by Jesuit. So, and there's some restaurant tips, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
so,
it definitely got a few emails this week about how many buses, how many trucks, where can and can't you park and all that stuff. But there definitely is some Lake Highlands connections at Jesuit. We've known that for a long time. Great respect. Coach Maturi, I think I taught his daughter in class several years ago. I'm showing my age here. But total respect for those guys, and many of them we know well, and the job that they do week in and week out. And turning on that video this week, we knew what we were in for, and so we need to go out Friday night and put our best foot forward.
Yeah. When you beat Highland Park 51-41, you kind of lose you can't really sneak up on anybody from then on out, but it's a great thing to have happen. It's something you could build on, and I'm hoping Lake Highlands folks will make the trips, not that far away, down there in Inwood. I think there's some place called the Republic. No, there's some kind of pretty good restaurant over there right across the street, but it need to be in the seats by 7 p.m., right? We're not pushing this thing back because the weather has broken.
I believe the weather is broken. I looked at it a little bit this weekend, and even today. We were outside today, practiced the first time in like 10 or 11 days. So, being out on the field was we're extremely grateful. It looks like the weather's going to continue. The temperature's going to drop. So I think, as far as Friday night football, I think we're done with I hope we are. I hate to jinx it, but I think we're done with the moving of times and games and stuff like that. And, looking forward to it.
Yeah, maybe a thunderstorm or something, but you've shown y'all can function well in that. Congratulations. Very exciting win. And this has been I knew it would be, a lot to cover. Appreciate the time. A very busy week. The Boneyard podcast. And thanks for everybody. There's a lot of people who want to be a part of this thing. If you're a business out there, and I think this would be a good week, coming off a huge win, and you want to get your name out there, we've got room, and we'll make way for you. We've had all people, laundry businesses and cleanup businesses. We just had all kinds of stuff over the years, but this year we've just had an amazing commitment from folks who just said, I don't even have to be mentioned. I want to be part of the Boneyard podcast. So that's kind of cool. It speaks to the commitment at Lake Highlands. All right, Corey, 2-1 now in your career. We won't update this every week, but that is a great win, and congratulations, and good luck on Friday night.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You bet. It is Corey Campbell, and that was the Boneyard Podcast.